The Adventures of Shark Stanley and Friends by Ben Goldfarb and Leah Meth, illustrated by Dan Yagman Jr. Special thanks to the Yale School of Forestry and Environmental Studies, the Pew Charitable Trusts, Shark Defenders, and Angelo Villagomez. In a tropical sea beneath surf and bright sun thrived a beautiful reef that was second to none. From corals to lobsters, from gobies to grouper, all creatures agreed that their reef was just super. And this reef was the dazzling deep-sea domain of 5 special friends atop the food chain. Shark Stanley the Hammerhead led the quintet with the greatest of faces that you've ever met. His head, too, the shape of a capital T, and his big, wide-set eyes allowed Stan to see the whole shining ocean, every last bubble, to keep his pals from seeking out trouble. But mischief is usually there to be found when Tingham the tiger shark is swimming around. Up glided Tingham to Stan and his chums, and grinning with 2,000 teeth in his gums, said,
"Who else is hungry? It's just about lunch. I'm gonna find something tasty to munch."
Billina the whale shark, as big as a bus, cruised up to Tingham and said,
"Don't make a fuss. Try some plankton. It's truly delicious. Must all your meals be made up of fishes?"
She dipped and swirled, her mouth open wide, and a whole swarm of copepods vanished inside. The 4 pals heard a crack like the snap of a whip, and knew Tala the thresher was using the tip of her 10-foot-long tail to stun fishy prey.
Arriba!
She hollered.
I could do this all day.
She waved her tail like a rope over her back.
Don't mess with my friends or you'll be getting a whack.
Just then the sharks met with a pleasant surprise, said Wacky the white tip.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Wacky loved traveling. She was always in motion, and the young sharks were itching to wander the ocean. They gathered round Wacky, whose epic migrations had taught her the currents and gyres locations.
To the great current.
She said.
We're strong and brave. Let's look for adventure and the very next wave.
They entered the current and were instantly swirled on a journey that carried them all round the world. They met mantas and sea slugs, sunfish and dugongs. They frolicked with dolphins and held whale sing-alongs. They played tag with turtles and went surfing with seals. They scuttled with scallops and danced with eels. But as they went further, they felt a growing unease, for it seemed the whole ocean has a disease. Nearby to the east, to the sharks' great distress, they found a vortex of plastic in a big oily mess. To the west, curtains of mesh hung down in the blue. Big fish had all vanished, and the sharks were gone too. They soon found out why. A ship passed with a roar, dragging a huge net just above the sea floor. The friends fled as fast as they could from the threat, and watched a whole school of tuna disappear in the net.
"This is scary,"
said Billina, her eyes filled with fear.
"Before we get caught, let's get out of here."
So they swam to the south and then swam a bit more, far away from the nest till their fins had gone sore. Hungry and tired, Stan cried with despair.
The ocean's not safe. Stick together. Beware.
But Tingham had darted off north with great haste.
"There's something shiny and I want to taste."
Don't touch that,
called Stan, but it was too late, for Tingham had chomped down on fisherman's bait.
"I got a hook in my lip,"
the unlucky shark wailed. The poor tiger shark's jaw had been neatly impaled. The sharks didn't know that the hook was connected to a vast human system that had long been perfected, and millions of miles of lines with hooks like these were snatching up sharks in all the world's seas. To become shark fin soup or some other food, they're baked and salted and fried and stewed. Now we know catching sharks is one way to make cash, but don't blame the fisher for the shark's rapid crash. He's just feeding his family, perhaps living in squalor. So he sells off his catch and he makes a few dollars. But it's bad news for the sharks. Making babies is slow. Young sharks take a long time to flourish and grow. With a creaky old crank, the line starts to rise, and Stanley saw terror in Tingham's black eyes.
"They're pulling me out."
Tingham shouted with fright.
Don't worry,
said Stanley.
We're going to fight.
Tala whirled lightning fast and snapped her tail tip and flicked out the hook in Tingham's lip.
"Come on!"
cried Stanley with joy and relief. He knew it was time to head back to their reef. Their wanderings had shown them the seas were in trouble. They had to defend their own reef. They raced home on the double. Saving the whole ocean might be really tough, but they could fix up their part if they tried hard enough. But was it their reef? It was covered in grime, and where once was bright coral, now only green slime. Just then came a cough from behind a gray lump.
"Welcome,"
wheezed a voice.
"to your new home, the dump."
Could it be?
Stanley asked.
That sounds just like Myrtle.
And out limped a sick-looking slime-coated turtle.
"I'll tell you,"
sobbed Myrtle.
"it's an awful sad tale. As soon as you left, this play started to fail. The reef needs its fish to eat up all the weeds and help give the coral the space that it needs. But without sharks around, it all fell out of whack. The fish disappeared and they haven't come back. Now there's so few fish left that they just can't devour. All the fields of algae getting worse by the hour. The nasty green slime is now so very thick, and it feeds tons of microbes that make coral sick.
Myrtle was right. Their reef couldn't thrive without sharks to keep fish and coral alive. For a moment they froze, still stunned by the story. Then Stan raised up his voice.
Let's bring back the glory and fix up this place, our undersea home. But we need help from humans. We can't fix it alone.
On shore at that moment stood a sister and a brother. They saw dorsal fins and then looked at each other.
Our sharks have come back, at long last they've returned. Oh, we were so worried, so very concerned.
For without you around, all the fish disappear. Our bellies are empty. It's been a tough year.
But it's more than that,
said the girl, looking at Stanley.
For generations, sharks have watched over our family.
For the shark was their totem, a wise, sacred creature. They respected the shark, their protector and teacher. So they trimmed away seaweed and wiped away slime. They planted young corals, and with patience and time, the reef grew back. It looked better than new, filled with turtles and groupers and parrotfish, too. And then, on one wonderful balmy blue day, came a boat full of folks from a land far away. They'd heard that the reef has lots of sharks and no trash. They'd brought scuba equipment and plenty of cash, and paid local people for the privilege to dive. And the fishermen cried,
"Sharks are worth more alive,"
said Stan to the kids.
You've helped save our home, but one reef's not enough. We need room to roam. We travel across the whole ocean blue. We need protection all over, and we need it from you.
And so the kids thought, and a great idea came. A shark sanctuary, that would be the name, of a giant safe space where sharks swim as they please. They'd keep sharks protected in their whole country's seas. They hopped in a boat and raced over the surf to tell other islands to protect Shark Stan's turf. Till at last, on a beautiful shining blue day, the president went to the whole world to say,
"Our sharks are too special. None will be caught. No hooks will be set and no fins will be bought."
Then country by country, the kids all took note. They took pictures and tweeted and Facebooked and wrote. And now it's your turn. Can you help our sharks out? Can you raise up your voice? Can you shout a big shout and tell the whole world to forget about greed, to live and let live, to take just what we need, and not announce more? So we're asking you please to help Shark Stanley and friends keep defending the seas.